Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Yo, welcome back to the much anticipated episode 8, where we're going to talk about supplements. I can actually see the excitement in Dave's face.
I like bouncing around already. I can't wait.
Yeah, you're hyped for it. So what's going on? Let's catch up quickly first.
Well, first of all, I think it's most important to know.
Oh, yes.
that,
Yeah, whatever. Okay, yeah,
Let's
whatever.
celebrate the American win here. USA. But, I hit a real big milestone yesterday in my progression. And all jokes aside, I want to thank you for the motivation of getting there. And my gosh, when I think I first started a year and some change ago with you, I think I was deadlifting like 100 pounds, I think was what I started off with. And yesterday I hit a 505 pound solid deadlift, which
heavy as hell. I genuinely was like, right, if I get it today, then that's fine. Like we got it in the same day. Like that's absolutely fine.
I would totally been like, hey,
psyched myself up the whole way to the gym. Actually loaded the bar, watched your video, and I was like, right, I can do this. Like he did, and no, it's heavy as hell.
It's
but
heavy.
It's funny because I did like a Q&A on Instagram. Yes, it was yesterday, and somebody asked me. It was actually Louise asked me who's going to get the 505 pound deadlift first, and I was like, I'm going to say this because I know Dave doesn't have Instagram and he won't see it, but I think he'll get it because he's got a really fucking good coach.
That can be further
congratulations.
Yeah,
congratulations. And I'm glad there was no forfeit.
Yeah. It was interesting. Last week when I had tried it, I had already done a 5K the one day. I had done like PR mile run the morning of, and then I'd already done 7 sets of heavy deadlifts all the way to 455 pounds. So it was one of those things where I was like, already dead, but I was able to get lift off for the very first time. And so, I swear to you, I honestly was not going to even try today or yesterday, but I saw you do the Twitter post of, hey, it's 85% of your 1 rep max day today for our power building program. Who thinks that Dave's going to go and try the 505 pound deadlift? And like it was like 90% like, yeah, he's going to go and do it. I'm like, damn it. So then I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do it. And so I started off with, like 275, did just 1 rep. Went to like 325, just did 1 rep. Went to like 385, did 1 rep. Went to 405 with 1 rep, and I probably should have did 455, but I just went to 505. And it came up really fast. Like it wasn't any struggling. There wasn't any pause there. It went straight up, and I definitely had issues as I got up to be able to lock my shoulders back just because of the sheer amount of weight. But it was right there and solid. So I can thank you for the motivation for that and building up for it. And it's one thing about this power building program. We're Ben and I are currently doing the Jeff Nippard intermediary 6 days a week power building program. And when we first started, we were pretty like, man, this is weird. This doesn't seem right. And I can tell you, I've had some substantial gains while on this program. It's been really, really awesome to see. Yeah, and we're only, week 5, we have 10 weeks. Week 5. So it's interesting. So like my 1 rep max was 455, when we started this, and in 5 weeks I'm doing a 505. Like that's crazy. It's crazy.
I can't wait to see how many bags of groceries that you can carry at the worldwide grocery carrying competition. I think that got pretty good feedback, so we need to set that up.
We got to start a conference. We got to start a conference of who can carry the most groceries. And my son Mason will be the first one cheering me on because he thinks that's the only reason why I lift in the first place. So
It is.
Yeah.
But aside from the 505 pound deadlift, everything is good.
Yeah, everything's good. Training's good. I did Orange Theory this morning. I took a shower just for this podcast because I don't want anybody to be able to smell me. And got to get my lift in right after this podcast. I'll be getting my lift in before our check-in at 3. And no, everything's good. Weight's ticked up a bit, which is exactly what we want. I'm at 3,500 calories a day, which I want to caveat. It's taken me a year to get to 3,500 calories. So don't expect to be at 3,500 calories. Definitely stronger. It's crazy. I feel like every week my body goes through a completely different transformation, where I'm getting bigger and stronger and everything else. It's like flying off the radar right now, which is crazy.
And every week you still can't believe it.
I can't believe it. I have no, I'm like, here's a good point to bring up before we get into the supplements discussion. But, it was, when you first start off doing this type of lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle, right? You want things fixed day one. Right. You, like by tomorrow, you're like, man, I'm all sore, but I don't notice my muscles. They're not changing at all. Right. It doesn't happen that fast. And I can remember times where I would text you and I'm like, man, I'm just feeling like Fat Dave today. I feel demotivated. I don't feel like I'm making any progress. I don't feel like I'm getting any stronger. And that's where I really think, you have to do these lifestyle type of things, like take pictures of yourself every week, with your, your shirt off and just in some underwear. Front and back and inside if you want, take measurements. I think the measurements were probably the biggest indicator for me, because while I wasn't seeing substantial change in like my stomach, for example, which by the way, your belly is the effing worst because it holds your weight, and most people, not you, because you're an a-hole, but it holds the weight. Your all of your fat basically is the last place to go is your stomach, right? There's no way of fixing that and making it go quicker. Liposuction, I guess, is probably the only thing that'll get rid of that. But it's one of those things where it's persistent. But if you're taking measurements of your body parts, you can see, listen, hey, my biceps grew, 0.1 centimeters, this week, or whatever it ends up being, and so you see the growth of your different areas that are supposed to grow, and you see the shrinking of all those different areas. So the progression takes time. You're not going to unscrew your body in 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 months or 5 months. It's going to take some time to get there, but the repetition is the biggest thing. You are making a difference in your body. You are transforming your body. It just takes a lot of time. I think that's the biggest thing. And luckily I feel that now. I rarely now say I don't see a progress or I feel like crap, about myself. It's how much bigger can I grow myself, to be more stronger and muscular and things like that I'm looking forward to. So
Jacked AF. I don't know if we've used Jacked AF in the podcast yet, but for anybody who doesn't know, that's what the goal is, to get Jacked AF.
Jacked AF. We got to come up with a supplement brand of Jacked AF or something if there isn't one already. But we want to be jacked. Want to be muscular, want to be lean. Want to look awesome and be strong at the same time, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we'll get into it then.
Before it's not all about me. How are you doing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't lift 505 pounds yesterday.
You're there. Did you get lift off? You get lift off.
I was so smug because the way the exchange is between kilos and pounds, for me to get it, it's 230 kilos, so it's 506 pounds. And I was like, if I lift this, it's 1 pound more. So I was like, I have to do it.
I would, honestly, I would have been so mad at that. Like, I would have been so mad at that, and I would have went downstairs and added like a pound and a half, just so it was like 506.5.
No, but genuinely, like, it's a big milestone and that's heavy as hell. I actually shared it on Instagram. People were like, that's a lot of fucking weight. And I was like, yeah, tell me about it. I was the one trying to pick it up. But aside from that, everything is good. I started the first group coaching yesterday. So we had on Monday, which was cool. And the only other thing that's changed is my setup with the monitor situation that I'm like trying to work out and need some tech support with all you guys. But no, aside from that, everything is good.
Well, talk a little bit about that really quick before we get into the supplement side. So what are you doing with the whole groups, and how are you helping other people with the personal training side of the house?
So the group thing is basically to allow me to, number one, help and work with more people. It's less of a one-to-one and everything's just dealt with in the group. So nutrition still managed the way it is with all you guys. The training still managed through True Coach the way it is. And then we just do the check-ins through weekly group calls. So we have, instead of the long call that our group has, we have two shorter calls, one on a Monday and one on a Friday.
Yeah.
And everything's done through that and done through a group chat on the Discord server, which I think I'm getting my head around. I was able to, I didn't want to be like, Dave, can you let this person in? Dave, can you let this person in? I think I just worked it out. But yeah, everything's managed through that. So it's a very small group at the minute. It's actually a very cool group of people to get started, and everybody's super keen to, become Dave, I guess, is the general consensus. No, I'm just kidding.
That's awesome.
But no, you definitely have inspired a lot of people to make change, and it's great to see sort of the community side of things in the Discord server, because I know you spoke a lot about, you know, InfoSec being a community field, but actually seeing it on that sort of bigger scale and actually helping, you know, there's a lot of chat going on, and you know, it's people just sharing their experience, and you know, they're all there because you've directed them there. So,
oh man, we all pick each other up and motivate each other. That's what keeps me going too. You know, like every day where I'm slacking, I'm like, hey, I can't let, you know, everybody else down that's looking at me at this. So I'm out there doing it. Plus, I also want to get jacked AF. But like I saw, we mentioned a couple podcasts ago about David Maynard, who had, you know, said, hey, I literally read the hacking, you know, your health guide that I did on Medium, and he lost 30 pounds in like 2 months. And, you know, I saw, you know, this morning, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. He's at the gym. I'm like, dude, like that right there is incredible. And Boyd, David Boyd, messaged me, and he's like, man, it's really cool to see how much of an impact you've had on people changing their lifestyles and knowing that it's actually possible to take control of it. You know, and here's the thing, in the security industry specifically, you know, we have some of the most brilliant minds you could possibly imagine from a technological perspective and programming. And I mean, just real brilliant folks that are just super smart. And we pride ourselves on how awesome our brains function, but we don't hack our own bodies to take care of ourselves to optimize that brain for our profession. So, you know, I think, you know, having those discussions of people is really taken off, because people realize, hey, you know, I can still be an awesome hacker, and I can still take care of myself as well and be here for my family and my kids. And, you know, it's been really awesome and real humbled to see, you know, this movement kind of take off. And there's a lot of great folks that you're having some awesome success with it. And just keep it going, everybody. Keep out there. It's just literally, you know, I put this on social media the other day, but, you know, I woke up, I think it was on Monday, and I had a rest day on Sunday. So rest days for me, I hate rest days. Ben knows this. I hate rest days. I call
Dave's rest days the days that he does the rest of his training.
I hate rest days. And listen, there are, people talk about overtraining. Overtraining is actually very difficult to do. You need to listen to your body, though. So there are days where I'm like, listen, I need to rest. But there are days like, hey, I think I could push myself a little bit further. But, you know, after a rest day, you know, it was Sunday, I had a rest day, and I needed that rest day. Monday, I went to Orange Theory, and I did not want to go. Like my alarm went off. I look at it, I'm like, it is so easy for me just to hit snooze or to get up an hour later and get that extra hour of sleep in. But I said, no, that's not me. That's not who I am. And F you, mind, for even suggesting that. I'm going to get out of this bed and I'm going to go work out. And I'm going to push myself twice as hard because you even suggested it in the first place. So I'm going to punish you for wanting to not go in this workout. And guess what? I get there, I'm like, oh, you know, and I work out. And as soon as I break that sweat, you know, I hit it. It's just my brain knows it's time to go. And I just kick my ass and go forward with it. And that day, you know, if you look at Whoop, it tells you your performance. I spent it was 8 or 10 minutes additional than I normally do in the high heart rate zone, which means I was killing myself even further than I normally do. So, you know, it's all in your mind. Just get out there and do it. And even if you're lazy, hey, listen, just make a promise to yourself. Hey, I'm going to get there. And if I start working out and I still don't feel it, then I'll go home. But guess what? If you get your ass to that gym and you work out just for a few minutes and you break that sweat, you're ready to go. You're done. You're good. So just keep that in mind as you're going through. Just keep that motivation going.
Yeah, it's generally, you know, from my experience, it's generally just getting your foot through the door. Do you know what I mean? Getting up and getting it done. And you can come up with any excuse you want in the world, but as soon as you get in the door and you're in the atmosphere, and like you said, as soon as you break a sweat, you're golden, you're good to go. But yes, rest days are important. I mean, that's probably, you know, I don't remember the last time that you took one, but anyway, good job on that front. I see there's a suggested deload week coming up, and I'm like, fuck that suggestion out the window.
Yeah, we're definitely not deloading.
Right, let's get into it. So first of all, I would like to caveat that all of the things that we're going to talk about in terms of supplements are things that we do because it's things that we enjoy. Now, I'm going to talk about things that I would recommend as a bare minimum to get you started. But also, both Dave and I take it to the absolute extreme with the supplements. Dave, because he just enjoys them, and, you know, we want to be as optimal as possible. Me, I do it for the same reason, but also so that I can recommend and refer things to clients. The other thing that I would like to say as well, I know Dave agrees with me, this: supplements are not the answer. Get everything that we've talked about in every episode up until this point. You need to nail all of those things first before you start thinking about supplements. It's not that you're going to take, you know, this supplement stack or start taking cod liver oil tablets and it's going to entirely change your life. It will definitely help, but you need to make sure that you're training, you're more active, you're eating properly, you're sleeping properly, you're managing your stress, you're able to digest your food, and you're recovering properly. And then we start to look at supplements. It is literally the top of the pyramid. Like, think about those 1% better. It will not change your life. Anything to add to that? We cover that?
Yeah, no, I think it's important to understand, I get asked all the time, well, hey, what fat loss pill should I take? There is no fucking fat loss pill. Don't do a fat loss pill. Don't mess with those thermogenics. What they're doing is increasing your body temperature and your thermogenics of your body to increase calorie burn, right? You can do the exact same thing by intentionally fidgeting yourself. I was actually listening to the Huberman Labs podcast yesterday. It was all about cold showers and stuff, which I took a cold shower yesterday and I took a cold shower today. So I'm getting into the cold showers. Listen, I didn't die. I didn't die. I didn't like it, but I didn't die. But there's some direct things. Most of your calorie burn and everything else is really heat expenditure. So your body has to regulate your temperature all the time. And so when you lose heat, it has to produce heat, which thus causes energy. What's interesting is just by fidgeting, like just fidgeting your leg. If you fidget your leg all day long, you will burn anywhere between 700 to 1,500 additional calories a day just by fidgeting. Even though it's a 20% muscle tweak, the heat expenditure that you do from a thermodynamics perspective of expunging heat and having to replace that heat causes this massive calorie burn. So, there are pills, if you look at ephedrine, for example, which is banned now, the issue with ephedrine is that it was a great fat loss pill because you would take it and it would increase your core body temperature and your thermogenics and you'd burn more calories. The problem is that it didn't regulate the thermogenics really well. And you had people dying of stroke and heart attack and things of that effect because it increased your body temperature too much. So don't look at these supplements as something that's going to change your life. Okay. Look at these supplements as this may help me after I've nailed down the nutrition, as I've nailed down the workout routines and resistance training, as I've nailed down walking. What are things that I can do to help me sleep? What are things that I can do to help me sleep better or longer, or better, more efficient? What are things that I can do from a micronutrients perspective that I may not be getting in my diet, today? These are discussions that you should be having with yourself versus a supplement to fix a problem. Okay, so supplements are not going to fix a problem. They're not going to make you skinny. They're not going to make you big. They're not going to give you muscle. What they're going to do is optimize your body and give it the right type of chemicals and formulas that you need in order to maximize your journey in this healthy lifestyle. So hopefully we've nailed that. Please do not take these supplements because you think it's going to change your body image or things to that effect. It doesn't do that at all. I do supplements because I think it does something, but at the end of the day, I'm just experimenting with different things that have been clinically proven or there's science research or things like that to help in certain areas that I may be struggling with, for example. Okay.
I think. Did you ever try Estrogen? No.
I when I was in the Marines, I took it all the time.
I tried before I even got into training properly. Like I went to the gym with a guy, one of my friends. It was a couple of years older than me, and like I didn't train, and he gave me one. I was literally in the gym for 3 hours. I was a fucking maniac, and I was totally broken the next day.
Well, dude. So I remember. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
The point that I want to make about you talking about the fidget, and I think I maybe have touched on this before, and it's a very micro thing, but it's something that I noticed that when I did my first photo shoot and calories got super low, all those like little things change in your body, so you don't fidget as much, so you're not actually burning as many calories because your body just sort of shuts all those things down. And yes, okay, like you said, it's such a minimal thing, but the impact that has on your overall daily calorie burn is massive. So that's always why I'm a fan of keeping calories as high as possible, because beyond what you're doing in the gym or your cardio or whatever day to day, like if I were sat here right now and I was eating 500 calories and I was sat here tomorrow and I was eating 5,000 calories, I'm going to burn more calories tomorrow eating more calories because I've got more fuel. So that's a good point to know. And one thing actually about the temperature thing, and then we'll get back to supplements, is the one interesting point that Andrew Hubman made was about sleep and about your temperature. And he said about if you're trying to cool yourself down to get to sleep, I always would have thought to have a cold shower. But what happens when you have a cold shower is your internal body temperature starts to heat up. So it actually makes you warmer. So if you have a really warm shower or warm bath, your body will do the opposite and it'll start trying to dump the heat. and then you cool down. I was like, I mean, it makes total sense whenever he puts it back to me, fucking scientist, whatever. But yeah, it made a lot of sense in terms of the sleep and, you know, managing things that way. But yeah, super interesting.
I remember when I was in the Marines, I was taking ephedrine, and this was all legal at the time, and I had no idea what I was doing. And we hit the gym, you know, 3 or 4 times a week, and I would take androtestin and nortestin, which is basically like one molecule off from a legal steroid. And, you know, I had no idea at the time you can go to GNC and buy these packs. I think they're called like Animal Stack or Animal Packs or something like that. And they had androtestin and nortestin. I remember taking those 3 combined, and I'd be at the gym like foaming at the mouth, you know, screaming and ripping, you know, stuff. So, you know, some of these things
that's a good lead in, just talking about supplements.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I think, you know, the supplement debate, you know, is what are critical things that, you know, I would recommend based on what I've researched. And again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I listen to a lot of scientist podcasts. I listen to a lot of doctors. I look at the scientific research. You know, as we mentioned in previous podcasts, Ben will message me. I'll be at 2:00 in the morning actually reading through a research paper. I actually just found one recently on apigenin for anti-cancer effects. But, you know, again, it's all about, you know, hey, what can we do to prolong our aging and, you know, feel as best as we humanly possibly can and perform as best as we possibly humanly can. And I think that's a big thing. You know, if you get nutrition down, right, you're getting yourself enough food, enough nutrition to power your body, right? And then the micronutrients to help restore and replenish your body. You know, if you one of the books that Ben recommended to me that I read was called Own the Day by Aubrey Marcus. And Aubrey gets into the whole discussion on, he uses the term, you are what you ate, right? So, you know, if you're getting fed, you know, a cow that has been pumped full of antibiotics and a bunch of crap and horrible foods and things like that to plump it up, you are what you ate, right? So you're replenishing yourself with crap protein. Now, if you're doing organic or things to that effect, or whole foods, you know, single source ingredient foods that, you know, are farm raised and things to that effect, or grass fed, you know, you're replenishing your body with natural type of things, and it definitely helps with the recovery aspects and what you're, you know, kind of putting on your shelf to repair your body. So, you know, supplements can help out with that repair, making sure that you have the right chemicals in place and making sure you have the right, you know, types of things to restore your body, recover your body, and to build it back stronger. And I think that's really where you're looking at it is, you know, you look at everything from protein synthesis to, you know, how your body repairs itself to, you know, glycogen stores to how, you know, we use energy. It's all about optimization, right? So I think, you know, for me, at least I'll talk about my protocol, of 3, I would say 3 or 4 things that I would heavily recommend, just from a performance perspective and an overall health and well-being. Again, not a doctor, not claiming to be a doctor or nutritionist. You know, it's best to talk to your doctor or nutritionist or things like that about supplements that you're going to take. But for me, a multivitamin of some sort, I think is big. That's kind of like a catch-all. So it has iron and calcium and vitamin D and all these, you know, other things in there that kind of catch all of the core vitamins that you want. One of the ones that I prefer is called On It Total Human. It has a daytime pack and a nighttime pack. So in the morning, I pop all these pills. You know, in the nighttime, I pop all these pills, and it has everything I need in it. And it has omega-3 fatty acids for DHA and EPA. Which is really important for like lubricating, you know, heart issues, you know, cardiovascular fixing, a lot of other benefits from omega-3 fatty acids that you get with that. But it has basically everything that I would need from that side. Second would be creatine. Creatine by far is like the most researched supplement out there, period, and its benefits from a repair perspective. You typically want to start with 20 grams of creatine per day for 7 days. That's what we call our loading phase or our stacking phase. And then you want to do 5 grams of creatine per day moving forward. And what that does is it builds up creatine in your body, and then you're replenishing it as your body uses that creatine. But it helps with muscle growth, recovery, repair, you know, makes your muscles look fuller. You obviously retain some water as part of that. So if you start to gain a little bit of weight at first, you know, that's to be expected, but it should be a small amount. And then the last thing I'd recommend from kind of a true, like, you know, staple would be some sort of protein supplement, you know, for like whey protein, things like that to help meet your goals if you're not getting all of your protein goals in there. I prefer the Dynamitize ISO 100. Cocoa Pebbles, that's my staple protein I use. I have buckets of it everywhere. I can show you. I have hidden areas that my wife doesn't know about on for protein. So, I'm not allowed to buy any more protein. But do not get the whey version of it. It's horrible. Make sure it's the ISO 100 version. It dilutes really well in water. I usually do 2 scoops of that after my workout. But one last thing I want to hit on before Ben gets into his side of the house, and that's just my 3 top things, by the way. I take like 70 other ones that we'll talk about, but the protein side of the house, there's research out there, and you can listen to the Huberman Labs podcast on this one, where they break it down pretty substantially. But what they found is that you have what's called an internal clock, right? And that clock tells your body what time of day it is. And things like caffeine, for example, increase dopamine in other areas and kind of reduces that clock, so you stay awake longer, which thus, your metabolic rate goes up, and you burn more calories because you're staying up longer. But in a specific case of protein synthesis, it's always been believed that, right after your workout's the most critical piece around getting protein intake. And while that's still important, you want to take protein beforehand, it's also important to note that to maximize protein synthesis or muscle growth, i.e. hypertrophy for muscle growth, you take protein in the morning. Usually between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. is basically the optimal time to take protein. So I'd heavily recommend, if you're getting onto the protein supplement side of the house, taking a large quantity of protein in the morning as well as after your workout, and then being more carb-centric, in the evenings and things like that, or throughout the day to kind of spread out the carbohydrates as things go along. But those are my 3 top ones, is some sort of multivitamin. You definitely want to get omega-3 fatty acids as part of that. And then, your protein and creatine are the 3 kind of staple ones.
Yeah. I would agree. What I want to the way I want to approach it is from a baseline perspective, what I would recommend. And I've said, all along, and you'll know this firsthand, that I'm not a person who, if you come on board with me as a client, that I recommend this long list of supplements, because I remember being that guy and, starting with a coach, and he sent me this list of like 15 things on Amazon, and I was like, I need all these things in this whole big list. Whenever, truthfully, you don't really know if you need them.
Ketones? You need some ketones?
No. You don't really know if you need them, and especially not straight off the bat. The way I sort of like to look at it is, if we start to go through the coaching process, and either you come to me with, I'm feeling this way, what would you recommend, or things that I start to notice as we go through, then I'll maybe recommend a supplement. I'll always only give it as a recommendation. I'll tell you why. I'll share the ones that I have used, and everything that sort of falls back on that. I'll always only try and talk from my own experience. But there are ones that, I would definitely recommend from a health perspective that can make you feel better. Omega-3, definitely one of them. I would definitely recommend having omega-3. Vitamin C as well, a good vitamin C supplement. I know you said about a multivitamin. I take mine separately just because the Blue Nutrition ones that I use, they come separately, and it means I can be a bit more in control of the dosage and stuff. So omega-3, vitamin C, vitamin D3.
Vitamin D is like the savior of everything, including COVID and a bunch of other stuff, right? So
yeah. So
I'm not saying it's a cure for COVID. I don't want to emphasize that. Get your vaccines, but vitamin D deficiency is a really bad thing for your immune system and everything else. So supplementing with vitamin D is highly useful, and anything from 5,000 to 10,000 IUs a day is generally accepted. So you can't really overdose on that stuff.
Yeah, and I guess as well, again, if I think about the audience and the people, you probably don't spend a lot of time outside. Do you know what I mean? If you're spending time working inside your computers all day or whatever, you don't generally get the vitamin D that you need. Now, if you live in the country that I live in, we don't get it because the country doesn't allow it. But, definitely supplement with vitamin D3, and especially coming into the sort of winter month, I would almost double the dose of vitamin D, because I'm definitely not getting it.
Vitamin D, all the things. And if you're from an African American perspective, you're getting lower doses of vitamin D based on skin color. So a heavy population of the United States very vitamin D deficient in the African American population. So all of those things, take vitamin D as much as possible. It's like literally one of the catch-all type of vitamins that you can do out there.
Yep, highly recommend. The other thing as well that I've found huge benefits from, and I would definitely recommend, is a good greens powder, because if we then start to look at like the micronutrient profile, generally 9 times out of 10 people aren't getting enough veg throughout the day. I'm guilty of this as well, because if I'm trying to eat 4,000 calories or whatever, I don't really want to start adding veg on top of that. So I make sure that I get that first thing. And And again, sort of just to touch on, the ones that I use are a local brand here, Blue Nutrition. I'll put the link in the bio. They do ship worldwide, I think, and there is a discount code on that. I don't get anything back from it, but I think it's a great brand, and I stand by them. So omega-3, vitamin C, vitamin D3, and an essential greens, and definitely creatine as well. And I know there's a bit of a able subject with creatine because people are like steroids and whatever, which it isn't at all. But I think it's just because it gets a pretty bad name, or people think that, they're gonna wake up jacked. I mean, I have been taking creatine pretty much every day, probably for the past 7 years, and I still haven't woke up jacked. So unless it's my body. But yeah, the one that I use is the Creapure one. I don't think I've ever went through any sort of loading phase with that. I just do the 5 milligrams, the 5 grams a day. And I have it. I know there's a question actually, and I'll touch on it while we're here. From Frankie Luca, how much creatine to take, how often, and would you recommend it during a cutting phase or strictly during bulking and maintenance? 5 grams per day, and do it every single day. Like I've never come off it for any sort of cutting. Like I would just keep it all the time. Like the benefits it has in your body are far going to outweigh any sort of negligible, water gain that it's holding on to. You will notice a change in your body composition probably at the start while it adapts, but if it's been in your system for, an extended period of time, there's no real need to take it out. And I stand by that. Like I wouldn't, I would take at 95% of the population, I think, who train should definitely take creatine.
Yeah, I would agree. And 5 grams, if you're taking 5 grams, it'll eventually stack up for what your body doesn't use from a creatine perspective, and you'll be at a nominal rate. The catch with creatine, what they've done in studies is that, your body will hold a certain percentage of creatine within your body. And then, as that depletes, you replenish it. So the loading phase is more so to get you to that point quicker, so that you have the optimal amount of creatine in your body that could be used, and then kind of supplementing that back with 5 grams. But if you're doing 5 grams, you'll get there too. So, whatever you prefer on that front. And I just want to caveat, by the way, what I said before on the whole vitamin D front. For those that don't know what vitamin D is, it's based on sunlight, right? So, skin color wise has a big impact on that of your ability to absorb sun into your body based on the demographics of where, you came from, geographically. So, there's a lot of studies out there around, the African American population that has a really tough time absorbing sunlight due to, the darkness of their skin, of being able to absorb that vitamin D into their body. So supplementation of vitamin D in that front, not just from a, skin color perspective, everybody should be taking vitamin D, but it definitely has a ton of health benefits on that front too. But I use the German creatine, which is basically Creapure. It's like 99.5% pure creatine, whatever. I don't know if it does a difference, but Creapure seems to be a pretty good.
If you're getting that 0.5, you're like, yes, yeah. I'm in.
That 0.5 versus that 99% is a big difference. So, but I use it's called German creatine, and I do 5 grams as part of my intra workout routine. So as I'm working out and then post is when I drink the creatine and my
So I would always put mine intra workout as well. If it's a non-training day, I'll put it in my morning shake. I guess I'll touch on that. I'll touch on that now. And just sort of go through the order of the day. Now, again, I would like to just caveat one more time. This is an extensive list of things that I have built up over the years. And people ask me, well, why do you take this?
Take some notes here, because I might want to add a couple.
I think, no, you don't need any more. I think, a coach recommended to me back whenever. So first thing in the morning, number one, I'll always prioritize hydrating myself, because if you imagine you've just been asleep for, well, hopefully 7 or 8 hours, and you've had no way of hydrating yourself, your body's dehydrated. And that's generally why people will reach for coffee, because they think that that's what they need for the hit. Whereas if they just hydrated themselves, they will feel much better. So with that sort of 800 to 1 liter, 800 milliliters to 1 liter of water, I'll put in the fruit and greens powder. Again, the Blue Nutrition one is very palatable. Some of them are awful. If you've ever had like a really green powder, it's like, some of them are like, oh yeah, strawberry flavor, or like, fruit punch. And I'm like, you get like a hint of fruit punch at the start, and then it's as if you're drinking water that came from a pond. That's literally the only way that I can describe it. Very, very green. But anyway, the fruit and greens from the Blue Nutrition is good. I have it. In it, I have supplement needs electrolytes. Now, the reason I have electrolytes is to replace any that I lost through sweating. Another way that you can do this, and he recommends it in the Aubrey Marcus book, is just by having some salt in your water in the morning just to replace those electrolytes that you lost through sweat, through sleep. I also use an AM stack from Supplement Needs. I'm not actually sure 100% what's in it, but they've created a formula, an AM stack formula and a PM stack, probably similar to the one that you use, just to sort of get everything in the one place without having to go and get 10 different supplements or whatever else. But it sort of sets me up for the day. So the water, the fruit and greens, the AM stack, and the electrolytes, and then obviously if it's a non-training day, I'll have my creatine in with that. So I'll have that first thing. I've also, again, with the change in season and stuff, I've reintroduced having shots of ginger. Now, this obviously technically isn't a supplement as such, but it came from when I used to work in the restaurant on the juice bar. Just a bit of research in terms of like the health benefits of ginger and the benefits of it on your immune system are absolutely incredible. And touch wood, I feel like it's the reason that I never get any sort of signs of sickness. I generally find that the change of season, I sort of reintroduce it, or at least up the dose. If you've ever had a shot of fresh ginger, freshly juiced, it will literally blow your head off. You can obviously get ones that are mixed with apple juice and whatever else. But I would definitely recommend having that some way throughout the day, because for your immune system, it's really, really, really good.
Yeah. So for my side of the house, is that all you take, by the way? You good?
That's in the shake. I haven't touched on the tablets and the pills, but you go ahead.
So for the mornings, when I start off, I have things broken down a little bit from a workout perspective. So, I try to tailor some of my supplements around my workout periods. For example, in the morning when I first wake up, I take the Onnit Total Human Daytime Pack, which, has some nootropics in it for mental clarity. It has, EHA, DHA for fish oils. It has, greens automatically added to it. I also like the athletic greens as another one. If you've tried that, blue is good as well. I really like the flavor of that one. So, athletic greens or blue, I think, are two good ones from the athletic greens perspective. But my Onnit Total Human has the greens built into it, so I don't typically add greens onto that. I take a Jay Cutler's probiotic. Any probiotic is fine. Helps with gut health. There's a lot of research coming out now around how gut health helps on the aging side, obesity, and others. So if your gut health and microbiome are good, you have a better chance of keeping that weight off. One of the most recent studies found that a lot of the artificial sweeteners that are in diet sodas, like aspartame, Splenda, those types of things, actually create confusion with communication in the bacteria gut side of the house, and often lead to obesity and the inability to keep weight off, aging, etc. So diet soda is actually really bad for you to leverage a lot of that. It's really bad for your gut biome bacteria side of the house. So I'd heavily recommend staying away from that. I take calcium. The only reason I take calcium is because I got micronutrient tested and found that I was calcium deficient. I wouldn't recommend doing this unless you are calcium deficient. There's no need to take calcium unless you do that. I take 600 milligrams of NAC, which is a supplement for liver and kidneys. Helps with like the overall health of those as you're popping a bunch of supplements and things like that. It could be taxing on those. So making sure, you're doing a lot of antioxidants to kind of flush those out and keep your kidneys in health, liver doing good. I take Niagen, which is a precursor to NAC. NAC is a anti-aging thing. We have it as we're young and then it eventually dies off, but it's a big foundational thing for ATP, or how we generate energy. So I take that. I also take apple cider gummies. There was a recent study that showed that having 2 servings of fermented food per day really helped out with your gut microbiomes. Again, that healthy gut equates to a healthy body, equates to healthy aging, equates to weight loss. Everything else comes along with that. And also take
those gummies. Sorry to interrupt you. Those gummies were an absolute game changer. The Goli gummies,
yeah. So good.
Like the Adam, the guy from NI Supplements, he recommended them, and obviously apple cider vinegar is great, but who the fuck wants to drink vinegar first thing in the morning? So
it's horrible.
Having those gummies are great. I just take 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening, and I've definitely noticed an improvement in digestion and how I feel. And I know someone asked about what did they say? Recommend for digestion. I would definitely recommend some. Though I wouldn't even go to just get apple cider vinegar, I would get those gummies because, like I said, who the fuck wants to drink ginger or drink vinegar first thing in the morning? Because that's obviously what it is. And then a decent fruit and greens, essential greens or whatever it is. But yeah, those gummies are, I mean, I don't want to say they're delicious, but they're definitely nicer than drinking vinegar.
Yeah, it's actually the only way that I will touch apple cider vinegar is through those gummies. So, yeah. And then workout protocol wise, I take Alpha Lion Superhuman Supreme Hulk Juice, which sounds amazing. Basically, it's a heavy boost of beta alanine, caffeine, a bunch of other things. Ben doesn't like beta alanine at all. I don't mind it. So beta alanine, if you haven't tried it before, if you take one of these supplements for the first time, your skin is like literally going to feel like it's ripping off you, like you're itching all over, and you just feel like crap. But it's only for like a few minutes, and then it goes away. There's some research around what beta alanine does from an oxygenation perspective of your muscles and being able to carry blood flow. That supposedly helps with performance. Ruling's kind of still out on all of that, but a lot of the supplements will have niacin, beta alanine, and caffeine is kind of the key staples there. They also typically have some branched chain amino acids or essential amino acids in there as part of it. I'll pop that usually 30 minutes before my workout. Word of warning, I might be getting into TMI, but anytime I take pre-workout, I have to immediately use the bathroom. And so that's a problem, obviously, if you're going to like a cardio session and you blow up the toilets, and you're known as that guy that blows up the toilets. So I take it like 45 minutes before I go, just so I can, take care of business before I actually get to the session with that. So literally, even if I smell the water of the thing, I have to use the bathroom. So it's that much of a regiment there from that side. And I take during my workout, I take Jay Cutler's Repair, which has it has essential amino acids and dextrose, which is basically the rawest form before you get to glycogen restore. So it's an easy way for your body to do insulin spikes and then kind of replenish your muscles as you're kind of doing it. So I'd use that along with creatine. And then afterwards, I'll take my protein supplement, usually 2 scoops, 25 grams per scoop, 50 grams of protein for that. And then my nighttime one, and I'll throw through this because I know there's a lot. On it, Total Human Nighttime Pack. I take Neuromag, which is magnesium L-threonate, which gets around what's called the blood-brain barrier. Magnesium is fantastic for relaxation, a lot of other things, your just overall stability of your brain, soothing, et cetera, et cetera. I'll take nitric oxide boosters from Horback. Usually it's arginine, which, you ever hear about the big pumps that you get with muscles and things like that. Your nitric oxide levels in your body are the lowest at night, so that's why I typically take it at night. I also usually take it in the morning.
So there's a question. While you're on the topic, there was a question again from Frank DeLuca. What do you think of the nitric oxide boosters, and when is the best time to take them? I have no experience personally from this, so I'll leave that to you.
Yeah, for me, based on the research, nighttime is when you have the lowest levels of nitric oxide. So I usually heavily recommend taking it right before bed. And I also take it, usually before a workout in the morning. That'll get you the big pump that you feel. A lot of the pump juice has arginine and a bunch of other things in there. It has citrulline and arginine are kind of like the two main components of nitric oxide boosters. There's a lot of research behind that. It allows blood flow, for your body, real good vasodilator, basically. So it's really good to, I think, take in the morning and evening from when I take it. That's what I found best use for me. And then the last two I take, L-theanine and apigenin. Apigenin has a lot of anti-cancer effects to it. It's very good for your liver. But what it also does is it's an anti-anxiety chemical. So, as you're about to go to bed, it has a really big soothing effect. Same thing for theanine, relaxing, soothing effect in your body. To get my mind ready to go, I go into that place. I do not recommend melatonin. I think melatonin is good in small doses, but not good long-term use-wise. There's a lot of research coming out now. Even in squirrels, for example, they did a scientific research on high dosage of melatonin in squirrels, and it shrunk the squirrel's testicles by like 70% by taking melatonin every day, which doesn't seem good, but and that hasn't been done in humans. Clinical trials in humans is still kind of a up in the air one, but melatonin typically isn't good for you long-term use-wise.
I never really got into melatonin, excuse me, until probably recently, maybe I got about a year or so ago. And I always found that there was a very fine line in terms of like the dosage for me. So if I went over, like I would wake up as if I had a hangover because it was just too much. So I tried to steer away from it. And then obviously it was that Huberman Lab podcast that sort of suggested it sort of affected your testosterone levels. But yeah, in terms of like my nighttime protocol, it's pretty much bang on the same as yours. The only other thing that I would add is the ashwagandha, and I think this is something that's a massively.
I forgot to add that. I am adding that at night as well too now. Yep.
Yeah, it's a massively overlooked. Do you have the gummies too?
I have the gummies. The same ones that do the apple cider vinegar. They're so tasty.
I have like 3 tubs of the actual capsules.
Dude, it's like a candy delight. As I'm eating, I'm like, oh, this is my dessert for tonight.
But yes, ashwagandha is, it's something again it's a lot of the studies that you read are like may do this and might do that. The reason that I take it is more from a sort of stress management level. Not to say that I'm a stressed person, but in terms of like I would take it post-workout to sort of bring my body stress levels down, to sort of put me in that rest and digest phase before I actually eat something. And then obviously, before I go to bed, I would have it then. There are studies to show, improvements in cortisol levels. And again, it touches on stress, anxiety, depression, and things like that. It's something that is a supernatural, I think it's like an ancient medical herb or something. Just put in the nice little black capsules or blue gummies as Dave has. But I would definitely, like, that's something that I have before bed as well. And I would sort of, if people struggle to sleep, that's something I would definitely recommend. The only other thing that I would have differently if I go back to the morning is obviously you have the NAC. I use a thing called Support Max from Strom Supplements, and this sort of leads us into the TRT side of the house like conversation as well, in terms of, like you said, managing liver, managing kidneys and things like that. So the one that I use is just called Support Max. It's from Strom. Obviously if we are increasing levels of testosterone in our body through the TRT, then it's going to put a lot more strain and stress on liver and kidneys. So sort of managing that or trying to counterbalance that as much as possible. It does the same sort of thing that NAC does that you use. The other thing as well that I would sort of touch on, I was never really a fan of pre-made pre-workouts, simply because, as Dave said, with the beta-alanine, like I just couldn't want it. It's sort of like that getting into the gym and you actually feel like your eyebrows are about to crawl off your face with the beta-alanine in the pre-workout. I just didn't enjoy it. And then I always find with whatever sort of pre-made pre-workouts that I used before, I always had a big crash after. Now, as I've sort of done a bit more research and able to look at the panels and the other things that it has, there are a couple that I would now use. I haven't had the Hulk juice or whatever the fuck it is, one that you use. But the MV Pre from Innovafarm, I would definitely recommend. And again, I wouldn't even use a full scoop. I would probably use 3/4 of a scoop just to sort of counteract that beta-alanine side of it. Another recommendation that I had from Adam from NI Supplements was just create your own. So if you depending on what level you're at, but knowing what your body responds well to, knowing what you like and what you don't like, or what you do and don't need for a training perspective. Is it endurance? Is it the blood flow? Is it the pump that you're looking for? Create your own sort of pre-workout mix. And I did used to do that. I used to have 400 milligrams of caffeine, citrulline maleate. I would have had my creatine in it. I probably would have had some essential amino acids, and I think that was probably it for a pre-workout perspective. And it was pretty good, because I was able to control how much of everything was in. I would have it probably 20 minutes before I went to train, and I found it worked well. But it doesn't really carry the flavors of the watermelon cooler or whatever, the MV Pre flavor that's absolutely delicious. But yeah, the only other thing, again, like I said, about post-workout, I would have those ashwagandha, like 3 or 4 capsules of that, just to bring my body down to the place that it's actually able to digest food. And then I would have my whey protein. The one that I use is Biotech USA. I've used the same one for about 5 years, and I can just stand by the chocolate flavor. But other than that, like the 3 that came recommended from that Huberman's Lab podcast are really, really good. I've definitely noticed benefits in terms of my sleep.
Yes,
with that being said, I have consciously made an effort to put my phone away at a certain time, actually go to sleep. I put it into the group chat the other day. I got an eye mask for going to sleep because of a recommendation of one of the clients. who gets 10 hours sleep a night, which is fucking impressive, to be honest. But she said that she wears an eye mask. I was like, right, okay, I'm going to try it. Absolutely hate it. I can't get used to it. It's like stuck to my face. Like I just can't get used to it at all. I've tried it for 3 nights, and it's just like I just lie awake with this black thing on my face and I can't see. So it's not for me. But again, that's a good sort of point to note that things that you can do to improve these things don't necessarily need to be pills or potions or tablets. There are other ways to sort of combat and improve things before you get to the stage of you're actually trying to consume something.
Yep. No, I agree. And again, this is optimization, right? This is trying to optimize your body in some way, shape, or form where you may be struggling in a certain area, or maybe you have trouble with sleep and you're looking at getting better REM sleep or things of that effect. One thing that I didn't discuss, that is not necessarily a supplement but fits in this category, is I got a cooling mattress, which, goes over the top of my mattress. Yeah, it's awesome. Well, there's a lot of good studies around, the kind of the sweet spot is around 65 degrees, around temperature wise to keep your body kind of cool and regulated, and allows your body to do the repair and deep sleep and all that other stuff that happens. And so I got one of those, and that was a really big game changer. I noticed my recovery moving up much faster, especially for really high intensity days that I was having. And it basically is like an air conditioning unit for your mattress, and it just pumps air or water through as you go through those. Also, there's new science coming out around. They just did something called CoolMit, which isn't out yet. You can join the wait list. There's no pricing yet or anything like that. But they did a lot of studies on how your body cools itself down. And if you're ever in a situation where you're overheating, a lot of people will put it on your armpits or in your neck. You actually need to find places on your body that don't have any hair. That actually transports your blood vessels and cools things down. The way that it was explained is, if your radiator is overheating, do you try to cool the outside of the radiator or get to the tubes that pump into the radiator? And so the CoolMint side of the house is these little gloves that you wear that have shown drastically to increase performance substantially, like by 3 or 4 times the amount of volume and effort that somebody could do. So they actually had athletes come in and they could do, let's just say 40 dips, and then they'd use the CoolMint and they would be able to do 4 more sets of those when they previously couldn't do those before in the past. It has to do with temperature of your body and how your body cools itself down and how the muscles cool themselves down. And so, you can incorporate some cold training and things like that. Taking cold showers in the morning can help performance as things go along. Saunas, for example.
Oh, yeah. Dave takes one cold shower, and now he's an advocate for cold showers. I've been trying to get you to take a cold shower for a year.
I know the benefits of it, but I hate it.
Oh, yeah,
I hate it.
Dr. Andrew Huberman said that I had to take a cold shower, and now everybody needs to take cold showers. Yeah,
I hate it. I hate cold showers. But I do enjoy my sauna. I have a sauna. And you can get these really cheap saunas for like $200 on Amazon. They're like these little pop-up tents. And there's a whole bunch of great benefits of sauna, both recovery, repair, but it also burns a ton of calories. In addition, it spikes human growth hormone production in your body for some reason. And so there's a lot of cool benefits for things that you can kind of incorporate into to help out with your different things. And the last thing I want to hit on, because we have like 3 minutes left, is testosterone. And I think, 3 minutes is not going to do testosterone enough justice. And we have to have probably a separate podcast on this. But getting your levels tested, again, not everybody needs testosterone, but as you start to age, especially in your 30s and above, especially early 40s, your testosterone levels are substantially low. So get your blood work done, talk to your doctor. Testosterone replacement therapy is huge.
So, I had obviously the call during the week with Amal, and I'll put the link to HRT in the show notes, because I think I did mention to this, but they're getting your labs and getting your blood work done through them are covered by any medical insurance that you have. So it literally won't cost you anything to get it done, and then you have access to it. And it's good to sort of look at things on a hormonal level, even beyond that, to see is there something underlying here that I need to deal with. And I was on a call with a client just there, and I was like, I think especially for males, because they're like, oh no, testosterone, I'm a man, blah blah blah, whatever. It's something that's sort of becoming a bit more normal to sort of look out for. And, ego aside, if there's something that you can sort of catch early on because you get your blood work done regularly, then I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah. And again, not everybody needs testosterone. I was in the extremely low mark. I was like a 70-year-old from a testosterone production perspective. And I can tell you, as soon as I started taking it, my recovery, my ability to, lift more weights, my sex drive goes up, my brain clarity and how I'm able to communicate went up. I mean, remove brain fog. It was just a lot of benefits that I had almost immediately with all those different areas. And so, it's not something we talk about on Men's Health a lot of the times. Women too, it's not just testosterone, it's also estrogen levels. There's a lot of great data on, especially premenopause, if you start on estrogen replacement therapy, how it has long-term benefits, throughout as you age. If you can catch it before premenopause or even post is just as good too. But, definitely take a look at hormone replacement therapy, getting your blood work done to check your estradiol levels and your testosterone levels. Take a look at that.
Yep. I think we covered most of the questions throughout there. Is there anything that you can see that you want to add, or I think we covered it?
I think we hit it, man. Again, just caveat, supplements are your own individual choice of what you decide to do. Be careful on the type of supplements you take because they can damage your body long term, and especially on the thermogenic side. If it's increasing your body temperature, I don't recommend them. It has a lot of cardiovascular issues. Putting additional pressure on your heart. I have a heart monitor that I use every single day. I just check my blood work, make sure my heart, my heart rate and my, is all down and everything else. Blood pressure is good. And always track all my stats, and I get my blood work done every 3 months just to make sure everything's good. I do micronutrient testing once a year. I'm really trying to optimize my body to see, hey, where am I deficient at? Where can I make tweaks at? How can I maximize this thing that we're on this journey with, from a lifestyle perspective? So that's really it.
Yes, and supplements are not the solution. They're not the answer. They will help when you nail the other things, but they're not going to totally change your life.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thanks.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. It was a good podcast, and we'll definitely be coming at you next week again, and hopefully everybody's getting your lift in, getting your walks in, eating the nutrition. Got that mindset going. Join our We Hack Health or Hacking Your Health Discord server, and tune in for us every week.
Cool. Catch you next week.
Later, everybody.